I stayed in London overnight with a friend that I knew because they were at the train station.
When I got to Heathrow, I thought I had a good idea.
It's fine. You got on the train, you came to St. Pancras from Southampton. And then from St. Pancras, you came to Leicester.
Arrived at Southampton, and it was a foggy time. I wanted to come. I weren't excited, but I wanted to come. And when I get here, I weren't disappointed neither.
I didn't get up too much because I didn't want to come. So I think most of my time I spent crying because I wanted to go back to Barbuda because I didn't know anyone in England.
I went to London, but London wasn't for me. I hated the underground and one thing or another. You know, you're rushing from underground, rush upstairs to catch the bus, you know, for work, etc. So I said, no, this life is too hard.
My sister and my brother and friends went there right back, you know, they saw how the place was and things like that. So I had a rough idea in my mind what it would be like. And when I arrived, I was going to a hospital in Brighton, Sussex.
We were told the streets are paved with gold, and that's rubbish, isn't it? So when we got off the ship onto the train, we were looking out, and then we saw all these buildings with the chimneys, etc. So we just looked at each other. Didn't realize those were houses, you know, with the chimneys. And then when you get to your destination, nothing was prepared for us.
This chap came up, and I knew you with me, they'll help you with your luggage and what's not, and you tip them. And I gave him a tip. And to me, I gave him a flower and 2 and 6, it was in them days. So when he said to me, "Are you sure?" I says, "Yeah." And I thought to myself, you don't think that you know the money. Rang the buzzer, and he stayed there with me till someone came out and made sure and see that I was in the building, the right place and everything. And that's when my life started in Brighton.
I came in the winter, because I came in October. And we landed in Southampton when my husband arrived. We had a coat, all the winter gear. He bought a coat, gloves, everything for the babies, everything, and for myself. We all.
Because I didn't know anything about England. Or the only thing I know is when the West Indies play in England at cricket, we used to listen to it on the radio. And they always coming with my sister, but apart from that, you know, didn't have any friends, didn't know anyone. So I didn't really want to come.
I didn't know anybody at all in that county, Sussex was. I didn't know anyone there. My family were in Leicester. My friends were in London.
I had schoolmates in Leicester. And my husband, he came to Leicester first, and then we joined him afterwards.
I didn't come to Leicester because I can look after me and I can be a one. I knew I can always come to Leicester, go anywhere on a train, because we don't have trains in Barbados. They are much faster and what's not, so that didn't bother me.
Life wasn't easy, and my husband was a wild man, so I divorced him.
I did. I had lots of friends then, you know. They take a while, but slowly I get into it, you know. And I was all right then. Meet with friends and everything was all right.
It was fine. Everyone was sociable. No one came from where I came from, but I made friends with everybody. It was quite good. Much more sociable than it is now.
Live in Highfields, just around the road, St. Stephen's Road.
I moved to Leicester in '61, and I live up on Melbourne Road. There were some friends of mine who was living in Leicester at the time, you know, and majority of the people that moved from Barbuda came to live in Leicester.
With myself, I always preferred to keep with the older people because you learn from the older ones.
I was a bit confused because I never seen houses built like these before. So when I saw the chimneys in the air, I said to myself, oh, no wonder they want people up here to work with all these factories. I thought the houses with the chimney there was factories and things.
Just looking around and I thought, these houses look grim. All I could see was smoke coming out the chimneys and stuff like that.
And then the morning when the bloke took me to show me where I can live, I couldn't believe it. I said, what? Where's the bedroom? He said, this is it. He had a double bed, one table, 2 chairs, and that was it.
The accommodation was terrible. The wallpaper was falling off the wall, it was damp and one thing and another. It was nice at all.
It was a big shock.
You was rooms, there was no houses, you had a landlord.
I come, it was a rent house, we all were renting, and you remember the paraffin heaters? Because we ain't had no other heating, only just a paraffin heater.
You know, we got to find somewhere to live, because we spent a couple of months living with my auntie. And then my sister and I, we decided we got to find our own place, and that was very difficult.
The worst thing is, you wanted a room because I couldn't afford a flat or anything.
Thing up in the window.
Rooms to let, no children, no Irish, no blacks, no dogs.
I don't know what the dog's looking for room for, but there you are. You couldn't get things like flats and stuff like that. It was all room.
If I had the money, I'd be on the next plane home. Because I didn't know, I didn't like it to start to cry. Look what I leave home and come to today.
As long as I can find somewhere to live, that was the main thing. But that was an eye-opener to see that sort of thing still exist, in the early 60s, I didn't see anything, didn't experience anything of that in Leicester anyway.
If you weren't happy there, you moved to somewhere else, and that was like for a while until you were able to buy a house for yourself.
I haven't got my own house up to now, but I moved from different places,
Yes, it's my home because I'm here. So you just have to adjust yourself to whatever and try and get on with your life the best way possible.
The weather changes and other. We had no idea. Well, I myself had no idea.
But my mother, she said, no, I'm not traveling to England. It's too far and it's cold.
In those days, the winters were very bad winters. And I says, I'm going back home. There is no way I'm going to stand this thing. What? I says, I left my sunny island. What? When he wrote to us, he would say how many layers of clothing they had on and this and the other, but it didn't mean much. We laughed and thought it was hilarious. But it's when I came, I realized what he was talking about.
From hot to cold, yes, but I didn't know what I was gonna get to really.
In August in Barbuda, it's pretty hot.
Okay.
And the August when I came here, I thought, well, if this is August, blimey, what the winter going to be like?
I had time to acclimatise prepare for the winter.
I can remember now that, I'm not in Jamaica anymore, it's cold here.
To me it was freezing because from the warm into the cold, yeah.
Not a word of a lie. 2 duvets on my bed. When it's winter, I've got 2 hot water bottles in the bed. My socks on, I've got a scarf on my head. No, I'm not cold. I'm sweating then. And the heating is on. When I came to a job.
I work at the Towers Hospital.
I settled into nursing. My time of nursing when I started, we had no hoist to lift the patient or anything. So we was to just manage somehow.
You're saying all different sides of nursing, and we used to just pack our suitcases. They would be put downstairs for us. A van would come and take them to which place we've got to go about a day or 2 before. We were looked after.
It's okay. Say for instance, in nursing, we were called all sorts of names, you know? And sometimes you wonder why I'm putting myself out to help these people.
Can you imagine that you could tell what they knew about us? We knew about Britain, but they didn't know about us. They asked me if I spoke English.
Don't touch me, you nigger, you're black, you're dirty, and all these sort of things. But what can you do? Well, I'm here. I wanted to travel. I'm not going back home to my parent. So I have to make the best out of life.
Hard work, but just had to get on with it. I was doing like domestic work.
I worked for Lewis's. Have you ever heard of Lewis's? Where, what's the, bit of Marks and Spencer's and a bit of Barclays. This tower is still there. They were all English people. Apart from, I think there were a couple of West Indians, but the majority of them were English people that I worked with. All my jobs have been excellent. And sociable, my workmates.
I mean, back in Badbury, where I come from, I never worked.
And the bloke says, oh, you can't sign on, you ain't working in this country yet.
On the Monday, I started work on the Monday.
Jamaican fellow took me the next day and says, I can get you a job straight away, but it might not be the welding job that you does at home. I said, I don't care, once I can make some quick money. So he took me down to the railway.
Other job there, my dad worked, where my dad was working. He's a cabinet maker. And I was a joiner from back home anyway.
Then eventually I got a welding job.
So I went on this 2 till 10 shift. I started work and I was on the conveyor belt. And then all of a sudden someone was shaking me. I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was the foreman. And all around me was broken glasses and vases and stuff like that. And he looked at me, he says, son, you ever done this job before? I says, no, never worked before. He says, how old are you? I said, 16. He says, what? He says, oh, don't mind, you're gonna get us in trouble. He says, a 16-year-old on night and afternoon shift. And he says, in the morning, you take this to the youth employment office. And I had a job as an apprentice cabinet maker. And that was pretty good. Then I went over to New York, because I got family in New York, trying to start over there, but I didn't like New York. So I came back to Leicester.
What has changed in Highfields? Okay, let's say first housing. Instead of having rooms, sort of later on in life, the rooms, you could have like a flat, or if you have a family, you need a house on your own, because when you have to share with others, it's not very pleasant, especially having children. It's not nice.
Similarities is, it depends on where you are, because when I used to come up to Leicester to see my sister and brother, I was spoiled because tickets used to come down, posted down for me. I didn't have to pay.
The similarity is really that you have to wear a lot of clothes. Different from the West Indies that way. And to me, where I come from in Jamaica, I was free to walk about anywhere. You go to school and you come home, you have your dinner and you have your friends and you stray a lot far away might be to another village or so, which you couldn't do that in England really, because everywhere is so far away. But village will only might be 2 miles or 3 miles away in the West Indies. So you could walk there and you miss the sea and so. But you get used to it after a while, yeah.
There was nothing similar at all. I couldn't think of anything similar apart from being socializing with, you say West Indians or whatever. There was no comparison whatsoever. No comparison at all. Because as a matter of fact, we was, you say, strangers, and the people who are here, say Asians, English people, they weren't accustomed to us. They didn't know what we were like. You sort of have to get into knowing them and speaking to them, you know, as the years went by. But they didn't know what we were like, because some of them had never been to the Caribbean. Never been to the Caribbean, so they didn't know what we were like, you know, where we came from. I mean, I know they had sarcastic remarks, which I used to ignore because I didn't bother about that. But no, they had no idea. There was no comparison at all. I cannot compare the Caribbean. No.